say the game is getting old. Monday morning and your coffee's cold. Life is not what you want it to be. You need another chance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. It's me, Jay Izzo. I have a really special guest. You know what? You're right. I do this every day, but I'm really excited about the show because the show is exciting. And I've got another exciting guest. Jay, every week, it's the same thing. I know. But you know what it is, and you have to be honest. It is exciting because you don't know. But you do know because I've been posting it all over the place. Raye Mitchell, attorney, Esquire. Yes. Esquire, right? When's the last time you heard that word? Yeah, hello? Yeah. She is going to be with a Harvard Law graduate. Not only is she a Harvard Law graduate, let me tell you something else. She is an expert negotiator, expert mediator, author of several books. She is going to be amazing, and she's going to inspire you. And you know how I feel about inspiration, because you know, if somebody inspires you, that gets you to inspire someone else. She's going to inspire you. We're going to talk about life and health, and you know what? It's going to be such an amazing show. I'm so excited because she's got a neat little book. We're going to talk about how it's entitled How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength, but I'm telling you, it's a bigger book than that, and you're going to want to read it. Guys, you're going to want to read this book, and if you're an entrepreneur, I don't care, male, female, you're going to read this book because this book's going to help you. But before we do that, let's do what we do every week on the show, and let's check in, right? We're four-part people. We are physical people. We are mental people. We are emotional people, and we are spiritual people. So let's check in with everybody today, right? From last week to this week, how are you doing on that scale of 1 to 10? 1 being not, well, you're pretty bad. 10 being you're absolutely outstanding. So let's talk about it physically. Physically, how did you do this past week, right? Right? I mean, are you eating right? Are you getting some exercise? Are you doing the things that you need to do? You know, maybe reducing the sugar intake that you shouldn't be having. I just took a blood test here this past week, and you know what? I had to come to grips with over here the last 9-10 months. Got to reduce the sugar. You know, it's okay. You know, it's not a big deal. I don't need sweets. And guess what? Diabetic controlled. Don't have to take anything. Never had, but I didn't want to go there because it runs on both sides of my family. Want to take care of my body. Folks, the point of the matter of this is I don't need you to get from a 3 to a 10. I need you to go from a 3 to a 3.5. So what do you need to do physically to get yourself just a little better? Do you need to take that extra walk? Walk the dog. The dog could use some exercise too. If you don't have a dog, chase the cat. I don't know. Chase your spouse. Chase your significant other around the house. Get some exercise. Eat right. Do the good things for your body because that's going to make you physically better, and you know it just translates everything else. Okay, there's the physical. What about the mental side? Right? I mean, what are you filling your mind with? Right? Are you growing mentally? Are you expanding your mind to learn something new? Remember, there's two sides of your brain. There's the left side, which is the logical side, and then there's that right side, which is that creative side. You know, folks, don't get caught into one side of the brain or another. We need to work the whole entire brain, right? What are you doing? What are you reading that's helping you grow your knowledge? That's helping you grow your wisdom? What are you doing? Or are you doing things that really don't benefit you mentally, right? Because mental growth is as important as physical growth, right? And I've said this all along. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? You never can stay the same. So how are you doing? Are you learning a new instrument? Are you maybe taking up a new language? Maybe you're learning to do something new that's using both sides of your brain, all right? So scale of 1 to 10, 1 being really, really, really bad, 10 being really, really, really awesome. How are you doing? All right, good. All right, let's move to the emotional side. How are you doing emotionally? And you go, Jay, what do you mean emotions? Well, look, you know, let's be honest. In our world today, people are emotionally out of control. They really are, right? The ability to control your emotions is incredibly important. And if little things are getting to you, then I would say that your emotional quotient is way, way, way low, right? And if you can't emote with somebody or you refuse to emote with somebody, your emotional quotient is really, really, really low. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing emotionally? Are you able to control it? And you know, the best way to control your emotions is to intentionally say, I don't need to feel this way right now. I don't have to feel like this. I don't have to be angry just because that person cut me off in traffic. You know, I don't have to be mad because this happened. You can make a choice. That's the beautiful thing about emotions. I'm not saying it's easy. But the beautiful thing about your emotions is you can make a choice not to feel that way. They don't have to control you. You can control them. So how you doing with your emotional control? All right. Last one. Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being miserable, 10 being awesome. How you doing spiritually? Where are you at spiritually? And you go, well, Jay, I don't believe in God. Well, but you believe in something, I promise. You may even believe in karma. You may believe that nature, right, is where you get your sense of peace and your sense of joy, right? I'm not saying that you have to believe in God, right? But if you do, I'm going to ask you, how's that going, right? Are you doing the things that you need to do, that you know you should do? And if you don't, and I'm going to ask you, is there a sense of peace that's coming from your spiritual side? Is there a sense of peace that's coming to you that's saying, yeah, you know what, this spiritual peace, the things that I can't explain by science, the things that I can't explain rationally, those are the spiritual things in this world. How are you doing there? And then remember, folks, that these are the 4 legs to your table that you eat at. All right? If they're off balance, the food's going to slide off the table. If they're way, way low, you're going to have to eat off a really low table. You want the table to be at the perfect height. So, folks, I hope that as we're going through this week by week, I know we do it all the time, but folks, I really want you to do this and check in with yourself, because if you're doing this, I'm telling you, it gives you a way to improve, and you start to look at what can I do to improve those areas and focus on those areas. And it's awesome. Awesome. Okay, speaking of somebody who's got all 4 of her areas together, yeah. So I am talking about my next guest. My next guest, who, by the way, is brought to you by Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. They are partners. They partner with business owners, and when it's time to sell their businesses, here's what they do. These businesses contact the professionals at Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. They're an awesome group of people. They've been sponsoring the show. They're sponsoring Raye Mitchell today, and it's really easy to find out about them. It is enlign.com. That's ENLIGN.com, and that's www.enlign.com, and they're sponsoring the show. So let me tell you about Raye Mitchell, because I have to be honest with you. I knew nothing about Raye Mitchell until publicists come and they talk to me about, I've got this guest I think you might be interested in. And then the more I started digging into Raye Mitchell, the more I fell in love with Raye Mitchell. And the more I was like going, man, this woman is just so inspirational. She's got a story, but more than just a story, she's got things that are practical and that can help people. And she's got a heart for people. And she's a native of Los Angeles, California. She's a graduate of Harvard Law School. She's a retired litigation attorney. She is author, humanitarian. She's a model. She's a sought-after motivational speaker on conflict resolution, wellness, positive body image, and women in leadership. She's lost over 65 pounds. She is described as a above-average-sized woman, but she's turned to bodybuilding for a tool for pain management, which I love because I'm a gym rat. And for pain management and autoimmune disease that could can be debilitating, painful wise, joint damage, loss of sight without warning. I think you need to follow her wellness journey, and at her blog, which is www.raysjourney, that's RAYES journey.com. And then of course she's available for speaking, workshops, retreats, and everything else. And you know how I feel about my fellow speakers as a national speaker myself. You know what, folks? I'm telling you, you might want to, just go hire her to speak, right? She's really awesome, and you're going to hear it today. And we're going to talk about this book, How Women Negotiate. I'm showing it to everybody right now. How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength, Protecting Brand and Intellectual Property Rights. Ladies and gentlemen, and please welcome to the show, Raye Mitchell. Welcome, Raye.
Hey, I'm claiming 10 on all of your scales because you have me so excited to be here and to meet your audience. I am so delighted. Thank you for welcoming me with that fabulous, wonderful description. Who is that woman? I want to meet her.
Well, it's you. It's you, darling. It's you. And I am so glad to have you on the show. And I want to tell you, I want to tell people, and by the way, hi, Muriel. She's joining us right now. So I want to tell you about this book, How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength. And you and I have talked off air before the show started. And I said to you off air, I said, this book is bigger than just for how women negotiate. This book is really a book of how for entrepreneurs to get a hold of their brand, or for even experienced business owners and CEOs to revisit your brand, because this isn't a long read. Okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you, if you like short reads, this is a very short read, but let me tell you why this book is so thick. She has a 90-day plan in this book of really how to review your brand strategy, how to start a brand care journal, and your inventory strengths, evaluating risks and threats, identifying your bad habits, how to eliminate them. What are you doing? Folks, this book is, I'm telling you, it's practical genius. And I found myself going, I said this to my wife, Linda, I said, you know what, this book's genius. It's just genius because, we're always trying to go, okay, I want to read this. But you know what, folks, when reading turns into something that's going to happen in your life or your business or your career, it's because you're doing something, and this book does something. And so, Raye, I really loved this book. I really did. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, the inspiration, it just sort of hit me. I was starting to write like a little small blog, because I write blogs when I prepare for my speeches. And then my whole creative energy just kept pouring it in. And I have this thing where I get hold of an idea and it gets really, 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 really big. And then the next part of my discipline is like, how do you bring it back down to bite-sized, digestible parts?
Right.
So I blew it up, and then I downsized it. And then when I did that, I was like, what's going on in the marketplace now? And I think you notice this. People will write that book, How to Do X, Y, and Z. Right. Then they'll follow up and sell you a workbook. That's a whole separate purchase.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I want these together. So while you're reading the insights, you're doing your plan. It's like you talked about spiritual. When you go to church, you take notes on the sermon. And my grandmother left me a Bible. That's the story of another day. When she wrote the story, she wrote the notes in the margins. So you're capturing the thought and the action in one place.
I love that. And I think it's really, really important, especially when people, we live in an economy where more people are starting their own business than ever before. We have more entrepreneurs coming into the market than we've ever had. And I think it's really, really interesting that we're in this marketplace where we're just seeing market explosion. But I think it's so timely. I think this book is really, really timely because we don't have so many people that I see, and as I consult businesses and I coach folks as well, when I'm doing that, I see so many people who start a business without any sort of a plan when it comes to the brand, right? And your number one key to mastering the art of brand integration, right? Number one key, and I love this, know your core values. Do you know how many times I go to a CEO, Raye, and I'll go, what is your core values? And they literally look at me or give me something pat, but I really believe that most people don't even know what their core values are. Do you find that true?
Yeah, we live in 2 or 3 different worlds at one time. So there's all this literature in the marketplace about branding and personal branding and small business branding, information overflow. It stretches our limits. But as an entrepreneur, or whether you're doing your own thing, or even when you're a rising executive, digestion is hard. And so people jump in where it feels easy.
Right.
And it's amazing how they miss that very fundamental question, but what's your value?
Right.
And because I negotiate for a living and help people negotiate, people get stuck on a position. I want $100,000. I want to settle this for $1 million.
Right.
But in negotiations, you drive towards your interest. What's your interest? What's the best result for you? Which is not necessarily the dollar. So core value is sort of like, what's your interest? What's the best place for you to start this conversation?
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
Yeah, I don't.
It's amazing.
You know, I want to ask. Thanks, Tom, for joining us. By the way, Tom Cantley's joining us new too, and all the people, by the way, who are out there joining us right now. And I want to just throw this out at people who are going to listen to this later, and those who are listening to us right now, and those who are watching us right now. You know, I want you to. I don't care if you work for yourself or you work for a company. Can you, if I asked you right now, could you tell me what your company's core values are? Because I mean, Ray, don't you think? I mean, you've negotiated, you know, a major contracts. How many employees have you ever ran across that work for somebody that can even tell you what the core values are of a company?
Well, that and the leadership doesn't know it, because this is what happens. This is, of course, my experience. I just finished a major proposal to a prospective client. It was an up and rising lawyer in California. And he was looking for and when I finished the conversation, I said, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And then we got into his values, and I was like, wow, that's sort of different than what you were asking for me to do. And he was so caught up in, I'm at this 5-year mark, my business is growing out of control. And I said, yeah, but how are you going to take it forward? So people don't think about their core values, and sometimes they get frustrated with somebody like me because they're like, you're slowing me down. I said, well, actually, I'm going to accelerate.
Right.
But we sort of got to get that foundation set, and then you'll be able to go into blitz marketing and literally blow up if you hold on to that core value. But you got to know what it is.
Well, yeah, and you know, this is where I think you are so exactly right here, because when you know, even as an employee, if you know what the core values are of your company, that sets the tone for how the company is going to run. And by the way, before we go too far, just talk about the company. I don't care what level of management you are. You are in business for yourself, right? So I mean, even though you may work for a company and you're in management, you have a set of core values that anybody who is under you, whether you have specifically written them out or not, they're going to operate under. I mean, right? I mean, that's really true. We learn by example. So whatever example right? I mean, Ray, you see this, right? You're going to learn. I don't care what level of management you are. You could be below the CEO and be a manager. What your employees see is what they're going to do, right?
Well, you know, to bring in a real-world example, the Google walkout. I just posted on my LinkedIn profile about the Google employee walkout. And what that represented was a break in perspective about values. Mm-hmm. The employees were talking about, we're walking out because you don't value our perspective and you don't give us respect. The company thought, but we thought we were. Mm-hmm. So not only knowing your core values, but you have to make sure that people are actually reading the same core value statement. Mm. And that's why I wrote a book like this, is because what you think is going on in terms of your brand and your message and your mission, it may not be what's actually reaching the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. We're talking with Raye Mitchell, by the way, author, Harvard Law graduate, the top negotiator, mediator, arbitrator. She wrote this book. Now I'm going to tell you the title's going to change here, but it's titled, you can see it says How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength, Protecting Brand and Intellectual Property Rights. But I'm going to tell you she told me that she's probably going to change this title because this is really not just for women. This is for guys. This is for you too, because it's really a business book on how to really do business and then how to protect the intellectual business rights. And we're kind of going through some of these top 10 keys to mastering the art of brand integration. And, you know, I tell people all the time, and by the way, she's brought to you today, and as the show is today, she's brought to you not by the letter T. No. She's brought to you by inline business brokers and advisors. Are you a business owner? At some point, you're going to need the services of an experienced business broker. Selling your business is a big decision. So make sure you make sure you have the best team available to you, and that starts with the experts at Inline Business Brokers. And to learn more, just go online to inline.com. That's www.enlign.com. Check them out, inline.com. They're awesome. They can help you evaluate your business, help you sell your business, and they're going to do an amazing job for you. I've known them for years, and they're great, and we thank them for sponsoring the show and Ray today. So Ray, I want to talk about something else that you said at number 2. I want to talk about the number 2 key step to mastering the art of brand integration. Craft your purpose. And here's what you say: why you act and how you deploy your core values. I thought that was brilliant, because we talk about putting core values together, but I have not heard very many people ever say the next step is craft your purpose. I'm serious. I've never heard that before, and you're the first one that's ever approached that subject. So, talk to me about crafting your purpose with your core values.
Well, the way I went about this is I have, as you sort of wonderfully shared with your audience, I have a background with an MBA from the University of Southern California. I was in business. I was doing business with marketing companies, classic marketing, and then I have a law degree and worked as my own lawyer in my own law firm. And so when I look at how did I help persuade people on both the business side and as a litigator, you really have to know, why are we having this conversation? So whether I'm trying to talk to you about a new version of Cheerios or Trix, actually I was on Trix cereal, or whether I'm trying to talk into you to give that $2 million contract to my client instead of someone else, it really is, what's the purpose here? What are we trying to accomplish? So there's this notion of not just the task at hand. I think sometimes we get sidetracked by task. I'm like, why are you doing this? Because the wonderful thing about branding and maximizing your whole position is there is opportunity everywhere. It seems crazy when people feel like they're starving and their business is going to go over. But the discipline of successful marketers is not chasing everything. It's the discipline of chasing only those things that complement your values and your core purpose. And saying no is the hardest thing in the world when your bank book is empty, your business is floating on air, and you're going to turn away something. Yes.
It is hard. It you know what, you're right. When you look at you're right. I mean, you look at the bank book and you go, okay, we're going to struggle here. It's hard to say no, even if you know it's a bad thing. It's hard to say no because you want the money. I mean, because you feel like you got to have it, and yet it could be the very worst thing for you because it doesn't align with your core values. And that,
as well as it could block. You can make a short-term decision that could cut off a big opportunity just around the corner. It sounds Pollyanna, but I actually like to be a Pollyanna. I believe in the upside. I believe in the spiritual. I believe that there is something great for everybody, no matter where you are on the spectrum. You could be down, out, and put out. But I do believe that there is a rise up.
Yeah. No, I you know what? I'm in total agreement with that, Ray. I believe in making room.
I do believe that everybody has that opportunity.
No, I do too, and I believe that you've got to make room for things that you can't see. I just believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that there's things going on.
Did I lose you?
I'm still here. Did I lose you? Did we lose Ray? Let me check, see if Ray's still there. Ray, are you still with me? Ray, can you hear me? Oh, we lost Ray for a second here. Let's get Ray back on the phone. Sorry about that, folks. We lost Ray here, so we will call her back. Let me do that real quick here. And we will call her back. Well, that's a shame. That doesn't happen to us very often, but occasionally it does. So let's call her back. Let's call her back. There she is. Hopefully she'll pick up.
Are you back?
Yeah, you know what? I could hear you. Everybody could hear you. Evidently you couldn't hear me. So
I was sort of like, okay, I'll just stand still and wait.
No. Everybody could hear you just fine. I was talking to you and I'm going, clearly she can't hear me. So we're with Raye Mitchell here on A New Direction, and thank you everybody for joining us and your patience. I was telling everybody who's listening and watching, I'm sorry we had evidently got some technical difficulties, and that occasionally happens when we're talking online, and we get them back up and we get to do this type of thing. What I was saying to you, I think it was when we left off, is that I believe in leaving room for the things that we can't see or understand. I think because things are so much bigger than us, I think you got to leave room for them, because I think you could get so caught up into doing so much, believing that you're in so control of everything, that you don't leave any room for something amazing to happen.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, what I believe, if we drift into my whole spiritual space, which is what drives the entirety of my actions in my life, is that, especially if our back is up against the wall, we want to do something.
Right.
And then we start doing things. And sometimes, whatever spiritual space you're in, the message is sit still.
Right.
Don't go towards something,
right,
because something may be coming to you. Which is not to say that you sit there saying like, well, I'll just wait.
Right.
That's different.
Right.
And so the reason that I sort of got into this branding issue was the notion that if you know where you're taking yourself,
right,
you will resist the tendency to do something right now because of that panic urge.
Right.
And I've had too many clients that come to me on the back end in litigation where they made a panic move.
Right.
And now all of a sudden the cleanup on aisle 4 is way more egregious than if they had just left aisle 4 alone.
It's you know what? It is really hard to explain to somebody in business that you need to just stop doing what you're doing. I'm telling you, I have walked into consulting businesses and have said, you know what, you just need to stop. And they will say, I can't stop. If I stop, we're going to go broke. And I'm going to tell them, and you know this to be true, and so do I. You're going to go broke because of what you're doing. Not because you think that by working harder that somehow you're going to fix this. I am telling you, you need to kind of let things play out here, because it's going to tell you a whole lot more about your people and who they are than you doing what you're doing. And it's a total core value thing. It comes right back to that very first thing that you said in your book, is it's a core value. And it comes down to, what do you believe? Ultimately, what do you believe? Do you believe that you have all the power to do this, or are you willing to kind of let things kind of take their course? Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying?
I kind of call it, there are 3 parts. One, there is the hardcore reality of like, but the mortgage is due, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I say to some people, okay, I'll give you my example. So I do whole body exercise and weight training. And there's this one exercise that my personal trainer has. It's one of those slant boards for doing core.
Yes.
And you have to get on it, and then you lean back to then start the exercise of leaning up.
Right.
That notion of that free fall for even that half a second is trauma. And we go through this drama every single day. I see him every day. I don't like just free falling. He's like, Ray, we do this every day.
Yeah.
But it's sort of part of that notion of falling backwards and not knowing where you're going to hit.
Right. Yeah, letting go is hard.
Yeah. Oh, it's panic. because you're like, nah, I know I'm going to hit the ground. It's not going to be pretty. But the way I have people think about owning their core values and staying focused is, if you're dead centered on what you know you want to do, then you can make strategic decisions about low-hanging fruit. So, for example, if I know I'm going to build this enterprise that's a tech hub, and if I decide to do a one-off project, then I'm consciously, purposefully doing that one-off project, and not let my brand strategy stray.
Right. Yeah. No.
Because sometimes money is money, but at least know the strategic reason why.
Yeah. You're so right. Now, I want to point something out here, because I think there's people who are listening and watching go, oh, Jay, you're just talking about people who own their own business or the CEOs. You're not talking to people like me. I work for somebody. I'm a salesperson and I just work for a company, or I just manage this. This doesn't apply to me. No. It absolutely applies to you. Let me explain why. Folks, if you do not know, step one, if you don't know what your core values are, and you should ask yourself, what are your real core values? I don't care who you're working with. You're going to work with someone that's going to craft your purpose, right? That's number 2 in this book right here. This book I'm reading right here, How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength. Raye Mitchell, the young woman I'm talking to right now, who I'm talking to right now, she wrote this book, by the way. Why do you act, and how do you employ your core values? I mean, that's a great question, folks. I don't care what level of that you're in. I don't care if you're an employee, if you're a manager, if you are the CEO or the owner of your company. I'm going to ask you the question, just the way Raye asks it, why you act and how do you employ your core values? Because I promise you, when's the last time you asked yourself that question, folks? Raye did it on page 13. Or 18, sorry, 18 of her book. It happens when you have older eyes. 18 of her book, she asked me to craft my purpose, and I went, wow, I haven't done that. And I'm encouraging, regardless of what you are, that you think about this for a second. Why you act and how you deploy your core values. Why do you act the way you do? And how are you employing your core values? If you even know what those core values are. And then she goes on, Raye, you say something else. And then number 3, you say, find your mission. Ooh, that's deep, because that's kind of like that double entendre, right? Because you could go several different ways with finding your mission. What are you talking about there?
Well, funny you should ask. So, context. The majority of my clients are not CEOs and executive types, although I do have a client base of that. I deal with everybody on every part of the spectrum. And so I can encounter somebody who is a mid-level employee, an entry-level employee, a contractor. And the issues that surround them is like, I'm a part of this big, giant organizational maze. And how could I possibly have core values and a mission statement? Because I'm part of something else. Well, here's how it comes into the thing. How do you deploy and how do you find your mission? It's a multi-level approach. Why are you in this position? What do you want to do as part of this position? That's part of why are you spending your time there? And if the answer is I need the money, there's something funny. Money runs out one way or another. And you could get to a point where if all you got is the money, you will find yourself at a high degree of unhappiness. But if you say a mission, you're like, well, I'm doing this because I really want to craft the difference in this company, small as it is. Or maybe you're now working with a company that actually has a social conscious part of the program. You can both do your job and fulfill your mission. I know a lot of people that use the job to do more than the job. Yeah. And so I'm like, when it's all over, what did Raye do besides her job?
That's, I don't think enough people do this. And I've had to redo this myself personally, honestly, is, Jay, what is your mission statement? What is your mission here? Right? What is it? For years I would say, I write books. My mission is to, write books to help people, right? That would be kind of what my mission is, or I speak to help people. But then I realized that really wasn't my mission. I mean, my mission was ultimately I wanted to empower people to take a small step in a new direction to improve their lives, regardless if it was their life, their business, or their career. And everything that I wanted to do, that I do now, is I want people to grow in some way. I want them to help find a new direction, because I've been stuck. Like so many people who are listening to us right now, there are people out there who are stuck in their lives. They feel like they're in a dead-end career. They feel like the only reason that they have this job is because they got to have the money. They hate what they do. They dread it. And you know those people too, Ray. You've been around them. They dread going to work every day. They hate what they do, and all their mission statement is basically, I'm earning a paycheck. That's my mission, is to earn a paycheck and survive.
Yeah, there's actually, you started talking about, I've been on this tour for this book. This book only came out about early spring, midsummer. That's my recollection.
Right.
And I've been on this speaking tour, and like you, I've been getting a lot of thankful, wonderful, positive feedback. And so one of the thoughts was, I do have to take this and add on to what I've learned. And one of the things that is a critical message that'll be part of the revamp is, if you want to do a new thing, you really do have to rethink everything. You can't nibble away at the margins. And what I find with people is that we nibble away at the margins. So I have this job, so now I'm going to go get another job that's the next level up of this job. But at few times do people sit there and say, like, well, let me rethink this whole journey. Maybe there's another part that's not just the next level up. Maybe there's just a whole new journey.
Yeah, but we're kind of afraid, aren't we, Ray? I mean, don't we get afraid because we don't know what that journey is, and so because we want to know everything, right? Everybody wants to know. I want to know what the future holds, right? We get paralyzed, don't we?
Well, one of the conversations, I'm a giant nerd, if you haven't figured that out. And one of the issues out there in the world is this notion of agility and influence, all these great power words and
right.
presence. But at the end of the day, the question is, do you have the agility to take something that is unknown and unknowable and reduce it to something that you can tackle? And so, the unknown is a big, dark hole of creepy, scary things. And if you fall in, you may not come out. That's the thought.
Right.
But my answer is, oh, look, let's go down that creepy, dark hole and tunnel and see what we find.
Right.
And it's the same thing on getting on that flat board. I'm telling you, one day I'll post the video, but it's comical. Ray, come on, you've done this now. Oh, I don't want to fall. He's like, you can do this. And then, of course, I do it with ease, and then
right.
I get off, and I'm like, ta-da!
Yeah, right.
But it's a psychological exercise, and can you even influence yourself to let go of the unknown?
We're talking with Raye Mitchell, just absolutely outstanding. She's beautiful both inside and out. She's absolutely brilliant. She wrote this amazing book that she told me she's going to change the name of because it's just going to help so many more people. How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength. You can find this on Amazon as well, by the way. You can find this book on Amazon, and you can also request it. It's got an ISBN number, so you can request a copy anywhere. Raye is Harvard Law grad. She is expert negotiator, arbitrator, mediator. She is a coach. She is a consultant. She is a speaker. She is an amazing author. We're going through this book, and she is. It's a brilliant book. It's not a very long read, but it's so practical, folks. I'm telling you, it will help you reevaluate your core values. And by the way, folks, you're in business, right? Even if you're working for somebody, you're in business. And do you know who your number one customer is? Whoever you're working for, that's your number one customer. You go, what? What do you mean that's my number one customer? Because they sign your check. that's your number one customer. If you're doing everything, let me just tell you as an employee, I learned this lesson a long time ago. If you will do everything that you can do for your employer, you will be so much better if you recognize that your employer is your customer. If you're married, can I just tell you, guys, your wife is your number one customer. If you will do everything to please your number one customer, guess what happens? It makes life awesome. And Raye Mitchell, who is with us today, she's brought to you by Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. They have literally helped thousands of clients in the sale and purchases of businesses. So when it's time to sell your business, or if you're ready to buy one, contact the professionals at Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. You can learn more online at nline.com. That's www.nline.com. And we've been talking, Raye, about the mission statement, and you know, my wife and I even have a mission statement. We created a mission statement for our marriage because we believed that we needed to have a mission going forward, you know, and it's grow together, die to self, give God the glory. That's our mission statement, and that's our core. That's a part of our core values, and we believe that. And we've been married 20 years. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. But but you've got to have core values. Then you have to do what you said too, and that is you have to not just have your core values, but then you've got to craft your purpose out of those core values, and then you got to develop a mission statement. And you know, I think we get really confused about the mission statement because I think we confuse it. It's got to be relative to business, but you know, the mission statement is more than that. The mission is, you know, who are you going to help? How are you going to do it? Who are the people that you're going to, you know, do this for? And I think people shy away from their mission statement. I wish more people asked themselves, but you know, about their mission statement, you know, because I don't think, Raye, I mean, do you run across it like I do? People, if I ask them, what's your mission statement for your life? Do you think they know?
Well, not only do they not know, what I try to do in this book, and just sort of my general endeavors, is I try and get people to think differently about what they think they know. And so the internet is full of stuff about your mission statement and your elevator pitch and all these great ideas that sound so pithy. But I just like digest it for a minute. What are you trying to do with what you're doing? And the great thing about a mission statement, it doesn't change overnight, but it evolves. One of the things that I work with people on is your mission statement, your purposefulness is really an unending journey. And again, from my part, you know, from my spiritual perspective, God put me in a position where I was working with young women and girls on leadership.
Right.
And I was good at it, and I loved it. It's wonderful. But as I became more involved with managing my health and wellness to counteract this aggressive autoimmune disease, the story started coming forward that part of my mission has to include an overt health and wellness advocacy. And I was like, but wait, I'm good at this over here. And the best advice I got was, your mission isn't always that what you're good at. It's that what you need to do. And I was like, okay.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It's not what you're necessarily good at. It's what you need to do. And that's the type. By the way, Dr. John Hansen's with us. So, John, great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the show. So I love that. It's not necessarily what you're good at. It's what you need to do. I love that. The payoff is that you will get good at that. Right.
And that's the part about letting go of the fear. Well, I can't do that because I don't know how to do it. But if that is something that you are called to do,
right,
then you believe enough, you take enough actions that you will be able to do it.
Yeah, you know, I think we have hidden passions. I think sometimes we find passions that we don't even know that we have. You know, I mean, I'm going to give you an example, a prime example. I had no idea I was going to love doing this radio podcasting thing. I had no idea. I seriously, Raye, there was not a part of me that thought I would enjoy doing this. I love this. I am so passionate about it. I love being able to relate to my listeners and be able to try to help them in some way with their families, their lives, their businesses, their careers. And being able to have people like you, we're talking with Raye Mitchell, author, and Harvard law grad, arbitrator, mediator, amazing negotiator. But, I never thought that, and I said, I don't know how to do this. I don't know that I have the skills to do this, but I love it. I loved it. I love doing what I'm doing. And
the endorphins from that moment just radiates. And I've been working out for years, doing my thing, never really thought about it as part of a message. And when I started with my new trainers, unbeknownst to me, or maybe I did know, he would do these videotapes and he was posting them on his channel. And he kept saying, oh, you know how popular you are? And I'm like, look, let's just get through this. And he would say, yeah, then I go Queen Raye. And people were following and enjoying the moment. And all of a sudden, it became clear that my health and wellness, which I thought was a personal journey, actually had value for other people who are above size. Health and wellness and being an athlete is not determined by your weight or your size.
Right.
And there's a myth out there that one is the other. And so all of a sudden I was like, I could share that story with people that you can be an athlete, you can be fit, even if you don't fit the stereotype of size.
Right. Right.
And it's very emboldening because it's like, I never thought that was a message I had, but it actually is.
Because a lot of people don't know you have an autoimmune disease, and I know that I know that you have to deal with pain on a regular basis, and I know that. And
it's very aggressive at times. It just shows up wherever it wants.
Right, and
I can have a good day, and then tomorrow I can wake up, and I really couldn't make it between here and the restroom without cringing.
Right. And here's the thing. I have said this over and over, and I think because you're a living example of it. Do you know that when people, sometimes we have pain, not for ourselves, but so that other people can see how we live it out. And because I know this is going to sound crazy to some people, but sometimes it's how we live out our pain that has more of an impact on people than how well we can live our lives. I'm just telling you. I mean, watch somebody. I mean, that's why I think raysjourney.com, right? And by the way, it's RAYES journey.com. I think is really an important website you need to go check out because she is taking you through her pain, but she's using her pain to help others. And I think sometimes when we're going through pain, and I don't wish pain on anybody, trust me, but sometimes we forget that our pain can actually be so useful to others to see how we live it out. And if you can maintain that perspective, it's extraordinarily powerful. And I think I believe that's what part of your. I mean, I hate to say that because I don't want it to be a downer, but I believe that part of your message is how well you live through pain.
Well, I am here again, spoiler alert, I'm highly competitive and I'm a goal seeker.
Right.
And, spoiler alert, but I just left the doctor before I came on and I said, you know what? I am going to beat this. Right. Nobody knows what causes it.
Right.
They really don't know. They have regimens to treat it, but I was like, no, I'm going to beat this. Right. So, I'm going into integrated medicine. I've doubled up and tripled up my weight training. I'm doing everything that I can think of and then some because I don't want it to be the chapter that represents a limitation. It could be something else, but I don't want to give in to the notion that I can't do that.
Right.
And so it's part of my mental combat to a physical ailment. And it's working. I mean, I can't say that I don't have things that I have to do,
right.
but I don't get down about it, even though it's a downer. It's a downer to not know.
So we're shifting gears with you here, but I love that. This is what I love about this show, because I love it when, you know, I have an author like you and a professional like yourself, and then all of a sudden you say something that triggers something that is just going to move us in a different direction. But that's why we call the show A New Direction. And, you know, I think something that you just kind of touched on just kind of hit me, and that is, you have made an emotional and mental choice regardless of whatever's going on physically. And I don't know that people understand just how powerful that is. That you've literally said, okay, yeah, I've got this physical ailment, I've got this physical thing going on, but I'm making a mental and emotional choice, and even a physical choice, that I'm gonna beat this thing. I mean, attitude is the one thing we can control, and you're just a demonstration of that.
And it translates, you know, like I write, and I write these books, and you would have to see the arc of my writing and my writing vision, but everything I write does generate heat around my core values and my mission. Because the words may change, but I have one North Star in my life. And that is, it's a 3-part North Star. I will serve God. I will do things to help others. And in the process, I will be a healthy and focus on my health and well-being. How I do it, it becomes, that's the intellectual stuff. But as long as I hold on to my 3-point North Star, I'm good.
Right.
It keeps me out of trouble, and it sends me down those deep, dark, creepy corners where I'm like, I don't want to go there. But sometimes that's where you have to be.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I mean, sometimes, you know, I've heard so many people who've been in recovery have said it wasn't until they hit very rock bottom, where they could not go any lower and they could not turn right or turn left, when things changed. And I don't wish that on anybody. I wish that we were different, but sometimes we just have to get into that dark place where we just throw up our hands and we go, okay, I just need to find something different, because this clearly isn't working. And
well, it's that dark place. Actually, you get to visit this concept called self-acceptance. And self-acceptance becomes that little light that says, you know, I am who I am. I have these strengths. I have these weaknesses. I have these things that I must do. And it starts to guide you back from that place where you didn't want to be. If I believe in myself, like I take my whole self, the disease and all, and say, okay, well, I'm a woman living with this aggressive autoimmune. And I factor that in. But when I write about, okay, well, how do you take where you are and negotiate up? Because, you know, negotiation, when you go back to the book, the biggest person you have to negotiate with on a daily basis is yourself.
That's so true.
You got to negotiate to get up. You got to negotiate to overcome. You know, boy, that was a really crappy statement they made to me. You're like, well, what are you going to do about it? So the book is whether you're thinking externally,
right,
or even if you were to turn it into a 90-day negotiation plan with your sense of self, it'll get you to the same place.
You know, I love that. We're talking with Raye Mitchell. She's author of this book, How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength, protecting brand and intellectual property rights. She is a Harvard Law graduate, professional negotiator, professional arbitrator, mediator. She's an author. She is an actress. She's a dancer. She's a model. She's a speaker. She's, you know what doesn't she do? That's a shorter list, I think, if we were to really put it all together. She does so much, and, you know, she's joining us here today on A New Direction. And, you know, I love the fact that you just said we have to negotiate with ourselves, because I don't think we think about it that way. But the truth of the matter is we do negotiate with ourselves on everything.
Right, but we don't treat it like a negotiation. If I were going into a negotiation or a mediation, I would have an idea of my interest. I would have an idea of the outcomes. I would have a conversation about, I understand where you're trying to go. Here's where we don't do that to ourselves. And sometimes it's just a one-way beat up. You failed. You didn't do that right. You're overweight. You're underweight. You're too tall. You're too short. Negotiate the true self so that you're not stuck somewhere that doesn't amplify your strengths. So I am, like I said, I am a confessed nerd, and so my book was intended to be on many levels.
Right. Well, I mean, but I want to take this even a step further. This idea of negotiating with yourself, because we have to do it every day in whatever career we have. We have to make decisions, and we've got to negotiate with ourselves, even to make a decision to pick up the phone. And, I mean, if you're a salesperson, you got to pick up the phone and call, maybe you have to call somebody that you don't even know, and you've got to negotiate that. And maybe you're in management, and, you have to make the call whether you're going to hire or fire somebody. You got to negotiate with yourself how you're going to make that work. I mean, the more I start thinking about it, the more I go, oh my gosh, I have to negotiate with myself a lot. And which side wins, right?
Well, another issue that would come up, I just finished a panel at this program, Digital Hollywood, and the question that came up, it comes up a lot, women negotiators and negotiating salary. And one of the points, I'm not sure if I made it, I hoped I'd made it, is even before you get to the negotiation for salary or a job or position or even the new car, you sort of have to come through your own mindset about what are you trying to accomplish by even going to the negotiation table. Because the first part of a negotiation is to decide, do I need to negotiate? Everything is not a negotiation. I mean, you can walk away from something right. and find some peace of mind. I'm going to let that one go.
Right.
I don't have to negotiate every single thing. And part of negotiating with yourself is the decision and the freedom of I can negotiate that, but I don't have to. And be comfortable with that.
Right. Yeah, I think sometimes we beat ourselves up for our own negotiations against ourselves. Right? I mean, I've done it. I know that I have negotiated with myself. I took action on the basis of the negotiation. Then I beat myself up for the way I negotiated my own personal self.
Oh, self-abuse. If we could unburden ourselves with the notion that there's so much we have to do. And one of the reasons that I do write, that's part of my mission and my health and wellness thing, is if I can add something, whether it's a skill, a conversation, a book, or a point of view, that takes one less edge off of what you have to do, that's part of my mission, which is to help other people take down some of that emotional energy and the stress and the uncertainty and find the way for them to use their bundle of greatness in a way that makes it a little easier. Something else may come along, but that's one less thing you have to deal with.
I love... You just told people that they all had a bundle of greatness. You realize that, right? You just told every person listening, you have a bundle of greatness. When is the last time somebody's ever told you you have a bundle of greatness? And I believe that. I believe that inside of all of us is a bundle of greatness. I believe Raye is absolutely 100% correct. There's a bundle of greatness in every person listening to Raye's voice, my voice right now. Maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you've been told that you aren't great, but I promise you, every person, right, Raye? I mean, every person has got a bundle of greatness inside of them.
Right, and that was my mindset in the book. And so I thought, well, how do we get sidetracked from what we know? And that's because we don't sit back and take inventory. So the whole notion of negotiating from strength has multiple levels. There's the strength of the monetary return or the deal return. But what about just getting in touch with all the things that make you great and deciding which one will be your lever and your leverage. Some people have a winning personality, but they're stuck in a room where they talk to no one. Other people, you're like, you really don't put them in front of people, but they're brilliant on written communication.
Right.
And if there's not a match, we're negotiating with the wrong components.
That's so good. We're talking with Raye Mitchell. She's author. Matter of fact, she's author of several books, but the book we're talking about today is How Women Negotiate from a Position of Strength, Protecting Brand and Intellectual Property Rights. Raye Mitchell, Esquire. She's a Harvard law graduate, expert negotiator, arbitrator, mediator. And we've been talking here for the last several minutes about negotiating with ourselves. And that's a very powerful notion that just really struck me. Hopefully it strikes you too, about, we do negotiate with ourselves on a regular basis, and that you have this bundle of greatness inside of you. And we talked about the things about this book, and we talked about her key steps to, there's 10 of these 10 key steps to mastering the art of brand integration. You're going to want to read this book. I don't care who you are, guy, gal, man, woman. If you're a dog that can read, I'm telling you, you should read this book too.
I have a strong following with the canine community.
Yeah, do you have a strong following with the canine community? I'm just telling you. And here's the beautiful thing about this book. This book is practical. She has got in the back of this book a 90-day plan on everything from eliminating bad habits to getting good habits, talking about your opportunities, visualizing innovations, and so much more is in this book. And it's just a brilliant book, and I love it. And I love what she says. She wrote a book that was going to be a quick read, but also, instead of having a workbook that you had to buy separately, she just put it all in one thing. And I think that's genius, and what that says is she was thinking about you. And I love authors and great people who do that. Raye, do you realize that we've been on for an hour?
Oh, I've had such a wonderful time digesting the energy that you're sharing that I'm feeling like, hey, I'm good.
We've been on for an hour, and people. By the way, I just want to let you. I had Tom say this is a great topic, and the information is spot on. So you need to know that you're getting so much positive vibes from the people out there who are listening right now and watching us live.
Yeah.
And so,
but as they say in Hollywood, you've got a rap. That's
awesome. Folks, listen, get the book. It's on Amazon. You can also find it anywhere. She said that she's gonna change the name. By the way, this is the Winning Edge on the top of this. This is part of the Rise Up book series that she's done. And if you want to find out more about Raye Mitchell, you could just go to Raye's Journey, RAYES journey.com. You could do that. Raye, at the end of every show, here's what I ask every single guest. The show is called A New Direction. And so if you were to leave all these listeners with a new direction that comes directly from Raye Mitchell, what would you leave? What would be your new direction for these folks today?
Okay, here's my thoughts. You need to rethink everything. And that entails adopting new practices from any and all sources that will increase your ability to find new adventures. Rethink everything. Hence, that could be the name of the new book.
That could be a new book. I love that. Thank you so much. Listen, she's inspirational. She's motivational. She's a speaker. She's a model. She's an actress. She is all over the place. Her name is Raye Mitchell, RAYMITCHELL. And by the way, she is all over the place. So please look her up. I'm telling you, I found her on LinkedIn. I found her on Facebook. She's been so kind, so generous with her time. Folks, I want to thank you for listening and watching today. And folks who are listening to this on podcast, you know what? I'm grateful for you. And because you people make the show. And California, you're the number 2 state that listens to this show. I don't know why, Californians, you like listening to the show, but I'm grateful that you do. And so thank you for being the number 2 state in the United States that listens to this show. I appreciate you so much. So, folks, as I say every week, listen, be inspired, because when you're inspired, that gives you the energy to inspire someone else. And when someone else is inspired, that inspires them to someone else. And if we're doing that one person at a time, man, we can make this world a really awesome place. And so until next week, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you soon, and I will see you later. Ciao, everybody.